Hello everyone. It's still wintry here, it's pretty cold today, and I've decided to make some porridge, a very special ancient porridge that was passed down to us by Dian Cecht, who was the healer in the Tuatha de Danaan, the ancient ancestors, or one of the early peoples of Ireland. So there are several ingredients in the porridge. I'll tell you all about them as we go along. First one that I'm collecting are some hazel buds. This porridge is an ancient recipe. It is said to resolve 14 different stomach disorders, and it's also good for sore throats, coughs, phlegm, general good health over winter, and also very good for the digestive system. So there are wild plants in this porridge, and I'm collecting some of them. I'm collecting all of them now, and I've started with the hazel. So I've got some catkins, and I'm taking some hazel buds. In the recipe, which I haven't tried before, so it's going to be a bit of an experiment, and it's going to be very interesting to see what it tastes like. In the recipe, we are to collect hazel buds. So the hazel buds are still very tiny. So I'm going around some different trees in the garden to collect some of the little tiny hazel buds. But I'm going to make it a little bit of a twist. I'm going to put the catkins in as well, because the catkins are very nutritious. They're full of protein and fats, and they taste quite nice. We had a lot of frost recently and it's still quite cold, so there aren't, to be honest, too many dandelions, but there's a couple here. I'm not going to take the whole dandelion, I'm just going to take a few leaves from each one. I'll tell you about the properties of each of these plants when we get in the house. It's a bit cold to be standing out here. Another dandelion here, just take a couple of leaves. Don't want to kill the plant. So next is some sorrel, which I found around here. Now, so here's the sorrel, which is so delicious. You can eat this in a salad. You can put it into stews, you can make medicine. So they're the ingredients, and chickweed, which I've already collected in the polytunnel. Very little chickweed, it's disappeared. You know, a couple of years ago, the polytunnel was overrun with chickweed. But things come and go, that's why there's no point worrying if you think you've got a weed problem. So I'm going to pop in with my dandelion, hazel buds and some catkins that I've added in, and some chickweed and some sorrel, and we're going to put these into the porridge. So just to tell you a little bit more about this ancient Irish porridge, Dian Cecht, he's one of the gods amongst the Tuatha de Danaan. He's the god of healing, and he would heal people using herbal medicine. He had a sacred well. He would dip people into the well and they would come out completely whole and rejuvenated. And he was also able to craft a beautiful silver arm for the king Nuada, who had lost his arm in battle. And this arm was a prosthetic that worked perfectly. So he's extremely talented and adept and knowledgeable about healing. And of course he would have used chants and magic as well, spells, you know, all of that to bring healing to people. And I suppose really he's associated with the healing of warriors. But this is a recipe for his porridge that's come down through the millennia, and it's still extant today. So this is what we're making. So Dian Cecht's porridge. And this is the little foraging bag that I use to collect the herbs in. And this was a beautiful gift from our friend Connor the Druid, who does the lovely leather work as well. So I'll put a link to his website below the film. So I've got my few herbs here. I've got sorrel, I've got dandelion, I've got chickweed, and I've got the hazel buds. So this porridge is reputed to resolve 14 stomach disorders, and possibly it would if we think about what the actions of each of these herbs are. And I have my whole grain porridge oats. So this is the grain. It hasn't been flattened into flakes, so it's much more healthy because there's no processing at all, and everything in those oats is still there. You can see it's a little bit damp because I've had it soaking for a few hours just to encourage it to cook more quickly. So the health benefits of oats: they're full of B vitamins and other nutrients, but they work as a nervine. And what they do is when you digest the oats, all the active constituents go to protect the sheath, the protective sheath, which is around all of your nerves, is nourished, so your nerves can function better, and so you feel much calmer and happier, and you sleep better, and everything, it brings you back to a state of equanimity, so you're feeling much better and much more balanced, and you're getting lots of nourishment as well. And you know, we say that young people sow their wild oats. It's all that energy and exuberance that having a healthy nervous system can provide. We've got some dandelion leaves. These are lovely, fresh, bitter herbs, and they are a wonderful digestive aid because of the bitter principle, but they're also nourishing the kidneys, the urinary system, and the general digestive system. Now, you know, I'm not going to add the roots of the dandelion into this porridge because I think it'd just be too much to chomp on, especially with the full grain oats. I've got chickweed in here. Chickweed is very cooling and soothing and demulcent, so it's going to cool down any inflammatory conditions in the digestive system, in the stomach, and it's going to, because it's demulcent, it's going to soothe and moisturize all the mucous membranes that are going through the digestive system, and it's very tasty, as is the sorrel. And the sorrel is, again, it's kind of bitter, it's sour, it's acidic, so it serves its purpose in the digestive system as well. And then the hazel, the little tiny buds and the catkins that I've included, the buds are like an elixir because in those little buds you've almost got the potential for a full tree. So it's like when you sprout seeds and you get all that powerhouse of life and activity in the seed, and you sprout it, and that's when you're eating it, when it's at its absolute peak. So it's the same with the hazel buds, and the little catkins are full of different proteins and fats. So again, it's brilliant nourishment. So I'm going to put my oats on to simmer. I've got some fresh milk, and I'm going to add some of our filtered water. So I'm just covering the oats. So I'll just pop them on to simmer. And usually when I make porridge, I only use water. I don't use milk. But I'm thinking in the ancient past, when cows were so important to the diet and the nourishment of our ancient ancestors, I just thought I would add some milk, you know, just in keeping with the ancient traditions of this porridge. And while it's simmering away, I'm just going to chop up these herbs and make them a little bit smaller and easier to handle in the porridge. And I'll put those in once the porridge has cooked, you know, before I serve it, because I want these to be cooked in with the porridge as well. Okay, so these oat groats have been simmering away about 20 minutes now. It takes a little bit longer than oat flakes, so please feel free to use oat flakes if you're in a hurry. I'm going to add the chopped herbs with the catkins and the hazel buds and just stir them in. Porridge oats, you know, taking oats for breakfast is very popular here in Ireland, and it's very popular in Scotland. But they in Scotland add salt to their porridge. We don't here in Ireland. We would add, have it just as it is, or people might add sugar or honey. And in the past, I mean, you don't have to go too far past, but in a while back, people would put oats into their stews and broths and things just to add the extra nutrition and to bulk those foods out a bit. So I'm just going to leave this to simmer for another couple of minutes to make sure the herbs get in there and all their goodness is extracted into the porridge. And then we'll give it a try, because I haven't tried this before. I love porridge, but I haven't tried it with Dian Cecht's recipe. So apart from being recommended for 14 disorders of the stomach, which I think, when I talked about the herbs earlier, you can imagine how many stomach complaints that would address. And don't forget as well that people who suffer with a nervous stomach, whose stomach gets knotted up when they're feeling nervous or anxious, porridge oats is going to help with that nervous anxiety on its own. And the other disorders that it's reputed to help are sore throats, colds, and if you have a lot of phlegm. So it's ironic that if you use raw milk will help a chesty issue where you have a lot of mucus bubbling. But the milk that we buy in the supermarket, which is homogenized and pasteurized, creates more mucus. So it's you'd be advised to avoid too much milk if you have a mucousy, phlegmy problem. So when we say this is good for phlegm, we're talking about adding raw milk. So I think that's about done. It's a nice mix of porridge, and you can see the herbs are mixed in here and there. Okay, so now, what do they say? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. So I'm going to give this a taste and we'll see what it's like. But I'm going to add some honey to it because, as I said during Imbolc sometime, Bridget is the Tuatha de Danaan goddess who brought bees from the other realm into this realm where we are, so that we could have sweetness in our lives. And seeing as herself and Dian Cecht are both members of the Tuatha de Danaan, I'm going to add some honey. And of course, honey has its own wonderful nutrients. And this is, of course, our own honey that we were very, very fortunate to receive as a gift from the bees in our first year. And believe me, we've been so grateful since October when we harvested it. We're using it every day and it is delicious. So here we go. Just like my candle. Okay, so I just offer some gratitude to Dian Cecht for this healthy recipe, to all the plant beings that are involved, and to the bees, and to the cows for the milk. So let's try it. That is a very hearty, filling mouthful. So this is a meal in itself. It really is. I don't know what the quantities are meant to be because that didn't come down. We've just got the ingredients. So I think if I was to do this again, I would put more herbs in. It's very enjoyable. I can definitely say I feel that this meal is going to really fill me up for the day and keep me going, full of energy and vitality and exuberance. Now that's Dian Cecht's recipe, but there's lots of other spring herbs coming up out there. Cleavers, for one, is making an appearance, and I would probably add some cleavers as well because it's so cleansing for the lymph system. And then later on, when the nettles really come up, put some nettle tops in, put them in a little bit earlier so that they cook and the sting is removed, and you can't go wrong. Oh, and before I go, just to remind you that the details for the Herbal Priestess webinar will be in the box below. And if you're in the Galway area, 24th of February, South Connemara, Carrow Row, for a beautiful artistic evening of visual art, song, and me talking about dandelions and Bridget. So see you next week. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.